Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for Art and Dialogue. My name is Stacy. I'm the Curator of Education here at Lehigh University Art Galleries. We are your free public museum on campus. We are just so thrilled to have Dede and Nitzan here with us today. This is part of a larger series that we offer of interdisciplinary conversations between the university and the wider community. And this presentation today is offered in partnership with the Philip and Muriel Berman Center for Jewish Studies and the Department of Modern Languages and Literatures. I'm so thrilled to introduce Dr. Noah Avram Barak. She's a teaching assistant professor in the Department of Modern Languages. She specializes in modern and contemporary Israeli art history and visual culture, art theory, and modern Jewish philosophy. We're thrilled to have her here on campus. And thrilled to have her introduce our guest speakers today. So
yes.
Thank
you. Well, I promised Dede and Nitzan that it will be as much not academic as possible.
Yes.
Because for community. So, well, I met Dede and Nitzan like 4 years ago.
This is Dede?
Dede, Nitzan, yes, yeah, Dede, Nitzan. That's in the end. So I met them like 4 years ago in a studio visit. Back then when I was in my role in the Tel Aviv Museum. And I knew their work, but there was nothing like, this personal meeting with artists to really understand, as I see it, like what they do and what I see in the Nitzan works, and I hope that, I'm sure that they'll talk about, is really about making space for thought. Your works, even if they're on a wall, in a gallery, or on big facade buildings, they give you time, and you need to think about them, and the time is like steady, and you need to figure out what you see, and that's my thought about art and how you should consume it. And as I tell my students, art and visuals have a lot of layers of meaning, and one of the things that I like in Dede and Nitzan works is that there are so many layers of meaning, and they really communicate to so many levels, from everyone that just passes by to art professionals as myself. So without further ado, I'll just give Dede and Nitzan the privilege to talk about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you all, and thanks for all of you who came to meet us twice today. Thank you. We will try as much as possible not to repeat the same things you already heard from us. And even if so, we will tackle it from a different view. Let's hope it won't be boring for you. So my name is Nitzan, and
I'm Dede.
Dede. You want to say something about your anonymity before we start?
Yeah,
He's wearing a mask.
Usually do it in the beginning is better. As you see in the photo, I'm covered. It's not only because of the sun walking outside. I'm also an anonymous artist. I keep my secret and the identity for almost 2 decades. And I see it as part of my art. When people find my art first, they don't know who I am, who is behind what they see, and they can reflect with their own stories. They don't think about the first impression of the person itself.
These days, it's really crucial, the whole aspect of identity, the politics of identities. The cancel culture can really decide to boycott this or that artist just because they come from this place or the other. And I think what you are doing since the beginning of your career is trying to minimize the knowledge of the public about your personal life in order to push them away from this aspect.
Yeah, I try to separate my personal life with my art life. I think it's also kind of separating the political aspect of the person, because there's like a lot of politics behind it. When you get into this world of art, that's the way it works. I don't like it personally, so I just keep them separate.
So both of us started as graffiti artists really early on. We're talking about our teenage days. Us, 17-year-old, separate artists, roaming around Tel Aviv. We both come from South Tel Aviv, and we both started separately, and then we became a couple. We'll tell you briefly, not to exhaust you with our love story. We'll tell it later. But here in this picture, you can really see us after we became a couple, working together. And we want to start by telling you separately, but with a connected thread, how trauma brought us to create. You want to start?
Me first? All right. So on the right, you see one of my Band-Aids. You can also see it here on me. I started painting I started creating and painting in the streets as a teenager, but it really became an obsession after my military service. I finished 4 years serving in the IDF. I finished with PTSD, although back then I didn't know it's PTSD. I didn't know exactly what I have. I just felt like super overwhelmed, and I had to express it. I had to say something. I wanted to share it with everyone that would listen, and I came up with the Band-Aid first in my notebook, then later on went outside and started tagging it, just painting it everywhere around Tel Aviv, later on outside of Tel Aviv, but it really became an obsession. So I used to go out every night, crossing the city, painting Band-Aids everywhere, like small tags everywhere, in every corner, every street. And it slowly made an impact. People started reaching out with their own personal stories, telling me about their traumas, about their story, how they relate with the symbol. And I found that it's very powerful. I later on, with every Band-Aid that I painted, I felt much better. But even after I got cured, I don't feel my PTSD anymore in that sense. But I keep painting them because I know I help more people, because many reached out with their own stories. So the Band-Aid evolved through different projects and locations, kept changing its meanings from very, very small Band-Aids, tags on electricity, like utility boxes in the city. You can also see this example, which is a very large Band-Aid. It's like 30-meter long. I don't do feet, sorry.
It's
but
like this whole gallery and more.
At least.
It's like a really big...
A Band-Aid. I stand in the center of the Band-Aid. If you see a small dot in the center of the square, it's me.
It's him and a table. It's like he plays a table and he's sitting on the desk.
And this Band-Aid is located in Rabin Square in Tel Aviv. It's the place where our Prime Minister Rabin was assassinated in '95, which was like a huge wound in the society and in Israel. So that was a commentary on that. And so as you can see, it also has a different meaning, depend of the location and the site.
This is like a big deal for us Israelis, because when he was assassinated, it basically assassinated the idea of a potential peace between the nations. So it's like a very symbolic place. Rabin Square is like the place to commemorate the idea of peace. And my style is a bit different. I started out as a visual poet, as a street poet. My trauma actually came not from the army service, it came from growing up in a very special home. All homes are special. I will tell you about why mine is special in my opinion. My mother is quite an extraordinary person. She's a very, very good human being. And she worked as a social worker, and she discovered that the real needs of kids that are in neglective or hostile or violent environments is to take them ASAP from the place of violence and to hide them at the moment of truth. And the wheels of bureaucracy with the organizations of the welfare, it takes time to evacuate those kids. It can take months, and in those months, they stay in that very violent, abusive environment. So my mother, as a social worker, decided to go off grid and to do the real work herself without any connection to her job. So she would do those guerrilla acts of rescuing kids ASAP, like at the moment of need, when their parents would be on the edge of killing them almost, and she would rescue them and bring them to our home. So our home, since I was a baby, served as a non-official, non-funded shelter for many kids, and dozens of kids, I can say. And slowly she started adopting, and she became like an Angelina Jolie without the money and the beauty. No, my mother is okay. So yeah, she became this angel, this merciful angel. But the house was just a regular house, just a small house in South Tel Aviv, and it was my house. And I really suffered in that environment, like housing all those horror stories and people with traumas and sharing small spaces with them when they are in their most vulnerable situations. It was too traumatic for me, and I just didn't know what to do with myself in those moments. So what I would do, I would just run away from the house, and I decided to take my poetry, my very personal poetry, and to put it outside. I think I was trying to scream and to get the attention that I was not receiving from my own mom, dad. And so, yeah, sometimes when you do good, some bad things can happen from them. But again, I'm on the good side of the bad things, if you understand what I mean. And if it led me to create poetry, if that's how I dealt with my trauma, so it's a good thing in the end. So yeah, I would take my poetry, my very personal poetry, and I would place them in the public spaces of Tel Aviv in the beginning. And I would talk about social injustices, and I would talk about my personal life, and I would talk about a lot of topics about relationship between me and God, between me and my mom, everything as a human being. It was like my personal diary, but poetry out there, open to the public. So this is how we both started, traumas. And then we became a couple. And the way we became a couple is also thanks to both of us running around and tagging and creating in the streets of South Tel Aviv. So, like Dede told you, he was really obsessed with creating his Band-Aids. But not only his Band-Aids. Yes, he was very known for creating massive amount of Band-Aids. You could not miss it. Everyone who lived in Israel, especially in Tel Aviv, saw gazillion of Band-Aids all over the place and was wondering who on earth is this crazy Band-Aid dude and why is he doing that? And I was one of those people who were wondering, who is this guy doing that? And I got very curious and kind of obsessed. And I became a groupie. And me with my little poetry here and there, I would start tagging his murals, and I would push my poetry next to his artworks to get his attention. And it did not work.
Yeah, I was like really into my own art, and I was into my own thing.
Yeah, so I pushed him around for 2 years. It was pointless. And then I started writing DMs like Facebook, because Facebook was the big deal back then. And we became pen friends, like pen pals, for 2 years. So imagine yourself trying to meet someone whom you doesn't know the real name, You don't know the real face. You don't know any biographical detail, but you still really are into him and you want to meet him. So yeah, he became my best friend without knowing him until he agreed to meet me. And we became a couple. Thank God you decided to meet me.
Yeah.
You're so generous.
Yeah. But since we met, we started sharing a studio, apartment, projects. We started traveling together, creating everywhere, worldwide and in Israel. And this is like an example of a piece we made together. You see one part is the painting, one side is the poetry, but we both work on everything together. We plan the composition. And this one is actually from about 2 years ago, very central in Tel Aviv. It's a big piece. And it's very close to where Nitzan was growing up. So.
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes from my parents' home. So again, it's like me putting it's not a dirty laundry, but me putting the most personal thoughts and memories about my childhood really close to my parents' house. And my parents actually really like it. And one time, a graffiti writer came at night and he tagged the lower part of the painting, like with spray paint, like black, like huge letters, like, well, I don't even know what he did there, but he like tried to destroy it. And I was in New York and my dad got so mad that the piece was destroyed that he went to a shop and he bought the wrong kind of yellow and the wrong kind of brushes, and he went and he fixed that. And it was the sweetest thing ever.
Yeah.
So if you want, you can have the poem I've translated for you. It's kind of like a good translation. You want to read it? Mm-hmm. All right, embarrassing. They gave birth to me and called me the sun, scorching me with stripes of love, blinding me. Mother, with her 8 arms, cleaved the light out of my body. Dad placed me on his chest and sang, and I glittered bright and clear. So it's a very complicated poem about my relationship with my childhood and the memories, and you can see the difference between how I perceive my dad and my mom. It's a very complex relationship with my mom, especially. I observe her as like this mega creature, like mythological creature with 8 arms, and she's taking something away from me but bringing me something back, so a lot of good comes out of it, and in the end there is a happy end there, because I not only survived, I thrived.
And about the painting, so this style of wooden animals made of leftovers and pieces, inspired from construction sites around the city. Tel Aviv is like a huge construction site forever. And every time we're coming back after a few months, we see it changed completely. So it's about gentrification and about small places being destroyed, making room for new places, new towers. That's the original idea behind these wooden animals. And in this case, we're talking about the small neighborhood, like where Nitzan grew up, which is just there and changed and evolved, and there's suddenly a new park, a new life in this area. And so it's like 2 stories, 2 personal stories of ours combined together on one wall, and kind of makes sense, or for us makes sense, that they're working together.
Now let's jump and talk a little bit about site-specific artworks. You can do that with art, with visual art, and you can do that also with the visual poetry. So, for example, let me take you to Poland, to a town called Lodz. I am quarter Polish, and I have my own side of the family who survived the Holocaust. And since my grandpa on that side came to Israel, he was 12. He escaped and he came to Israel, and he immediately, since he landed, he decided never to speak Polish ever again until the rest of his life. So he deleted his heritage, he deleted every connection to the culture he came from, and he started fresh, he started from scratch. So he was not alive when I painted this mural. It's in Polish, and that's why you can't read it. And I wonder, even till today, would he have approved this? What would he think about his granddaughter going to Poland and writing in Polish? And especially in this location, this is a piece of the Jewish ghetto's wall. So this is like a chunk of the wall that served as like a shield, preventer from people from getting out or in. And the other side are these wooden doors. It's the opposites. It's like the outside is Polish. I decided it will be in Polish, and the inside I decided it will be the Hebrew version. So those wooden doors used to be like small shacks to store the belongings of the Jews that they were sent to death camps. They never, we're talking about the people who lived around the Jewish ghetto. They never would imagine that they will never pick up their stuff again. So by storing their belongings, they were sure it's gonna wait for them until the end of the era or the war, or I don't know what they had in mind, but they never came, they never survived, and the belonging just stayed there, and the doors looked exactly the same. So it's kind of chilling for me to come to those places and to paint my words in Hebrew. And it was also a communal project with the Polish people who live there. Those people who live there today, it's a very poor neighborhood, one of the poorest neighborhoods in Lodz. They never met a Jew in their life. I was the first Jew and Israeli they ever met. They were very scared to meet at the beginning, and the organizer of the project did a tremendous job explaining a lot and making them feel comfortable with me arriving, and in the end they really they hugged me and embraced me and cooked for me and gave me tons of herbata, which is tea in Polish. And so they really adopted me. It was pretty amazing.
All right, so something different completely. All right. Beside Band-Aids, I'm doing other stuff too, other art. I have more series, and one of the series I'm proud the most, or is the most challenging, is like very site-specific art. So in this case, you have to find a place where you can create an image. It talks with the surroundings. It fits a building, and it says something around where it's located. So, for example, you have here a clothespin on the right. It's a leftover, which is a staircase. It's a leftover of a bridge that was there, but the bridge itself was destroyed. This is just a staircase standing in nowhere, and just found that the shape looked very much like a clothespin, and with some paint just changed it. So this was site-specific art because of the shape. On the left, you can see an artwork which is also time-specific, because it was made during one of the operations in Gaza. It was 2014, and it was the first time Israel used Iron Dome to protect the country from missiles coming from Gaza. we painted it for a very long night.
Right, tell them what's Iron Dome.
So Iron Dome, in short, is like missiles that are shot in order to protect the ground. They shot
explode
and in order to explode other missiles that are coming.
in the sky. It all happens.
Yeah,
in
it's
the sky.
happened in the skies. You don't supposed to even know about it, but you hear it and you see it very well. It looks like fireworks. And unfortunately, we need it still. It's still in use. And now it's like very known and common. It's in the newspapers all the time. But back then, 2014 was the first time they tried it. And no one was sure it's even going to work. It was kind of science fiction till this point.
All the Israelis would it's not, you're not allowed. I mean, you need to be in the shelter, but Israelis were so curious to see what it is about, and no one wanted to be in the shelter when we were bombed. People just would sneak and look at the sky and just look up, and it was like this incredible show of fireworks exploding above your head. It's like gazillions of meteorites. It looked amazing. People were mesmerized. So
this one, the target is located between Tel Aviv and Jaffa, between where Jews live and Arabs live, just on both sides of the road. Just to state that we are all here on the ground, all suffer from this, and that's not the way to do it. This target is, of course, huge. It's on a huge parking lot, and we made it during a very, very long night. It was very hard to achieve. And if we have, like, in one sentence to say how we made it, Nitzan was standing in the center of the target. I attached the rope to her waist, and with a long rope and the brush on the other side of the rope, walked around her, and we adjust the rope every time again to make the different circles. People were pretty shocked later to see it, and like crop circles, they never know like where it's coming from.
especially the guard of the parking lot.
The guard of the parking lot
who came early in the morning, discovered it, and we ran away. And we also create a lot since even before, but now let's jump a little bit before October 7th. We got accepted to an amazing art program in New York, and we came to Manhattan 1 month before the war. I'm showing you these examples, although these were pieces that we created after October 7th, after the war started. They have a lot of connection to traumas and to everything that happened in the beginning. But I'm showing you some studio pieces so you'll understand that we're not only creating in the public sphere, we also have a studio practice. Both of us studied in the academies separately, and we exhibit in galleries, museums. We have our own techniques, styles. It can look the same as our outdoors art, but it can look really, really differently. So what brought us to New York are those pieces of art, not this specific, but our studio practice. That's why we got accepted to a program. We came, and now we're going to introduce the next part of our talk, which really, really changed our lives. So imagine we're 1 month before the war, and Dede and I just having so much fun here in New York. Everything is new to us. We don't know anyone, and we are creating in our amazing studio in the residency program. And boom, one day you hear that your country is collapsing and that everything you knew will never be the same again. And you are far away from home, from your family, and they give you the picture of a catastrophe that like never before. So this is how it caught us here in a foreign country.
Only 1 month after we arrived.
Yes. And we were shocked and devastated, and we started hearing about the hostages and about the kidnapping and about all the things. And we said to ourselves, okay, it's either we're taking the first flight to volunteer immediately, we need to do something, or we can try to find a really quick solution. There is no solution, but a quick way to try to help our people, and specifically the hostages that needs to be released ASAP. Otherwise, we knew that it's not going to end well. Because we're talking about babies held hostage, like elderly, it's like really crucial to bring them out immediately. So
you probably saw these posters.
have you seen those?
So we came up with the design of the posters, and that's what happened. That's what we decided to do. We wanted to use the experience and skills that we have, our practice, and we wanted to say something outside in the street and talk to any passerby to understand what we know, what happened at that day. So the day after, we came up with this design, which is based on the inspiration from the milk boxes from the 80s. That was, of course, a genius campaign trying to locate missing kids. But we changed the missing into kidnapped, and we wanted to talk about the hostages. And we understood it will be too difficult to reach every milk box or every supermarket in the US. So we adjusted the format to a street poster, and we took it outside.
So we came up with the idea on the 8th of October, which is one day after it all started. And on the 9th, we already went outdoors with 2,000 copies, which were printed, of people who were abducted, and we started crossing Manhattan. And the first people who appeared on the posters were the first people who appeared on both our Facebook feeds from our friends, because all of our friends posted real footages of their loved ones being dragged to Gaza, or either because Hamas has documented what they did with a GoPro cameras. Each one had a GoPro camera, and they broadcast it live on Facebook. So the Israelis could grab those pictures and see and cross-examine, like, who is really in Gaza now, and is there a potential of them being alive? It was like little clues that brought us to understand who is kidnapped and who is not. That was the beginning. So we took those pictures and we put them on the posters, and those were the first posters in the first 24 hours. After that, it changed completely. We'll get to that. Then we took this box. We're showing you this weird picture.
Yeah. It's a weird picture from the subway, us with a huge box on the floor, trying to, we just went everywhere distributing the posters. We went everywhere around Manhattan, every neighborhood, every crossroad, and we just posted it on every lamppost, every utility box, everything that we found, every subway stop. And we were hoping that other people want to join and take like a bunch of posters, take them with them, try to hang them themselves. That's why we printed so many in the beginning. We didn't think we could ourselves post that many posters.
This sweet girl is the nephew of our friend, which lives in the US. And she was released in the first ceasefire. So we found ourselves crossing Manhattan. We did that from morning to evening, and we tried not only to place them ourselves, but we tried really to approach any stranger we could. And nobody wanted to do anything to do with it. Like, we received only no. No after no after no for hours. and we crossed Manhattan, and we were exhausted with this huge box, and we were dehydrated, and we were sad, and we were devastated, and there was just no hope at all. No hope. We felt like no one will ever care about the people we love, ever, and we are alone in a strange place, and we should probably pack our things and leave and never return.
And when we arrived back to our apartment that night, we were completely broken from this horrible day. And as a last resort, we decided to upload the posters that we have online to a Dropbox folder and try to share this link in our social media, in WhatsApp groups, and try to reach people, asking them with a simple post to download this file, print, post it everywhere they can. And with that, we just went to sleep. This day was too much for us. And when we woke up the day after, we discovered tons of posters on the street that people put everywhere. We saw it first in Manhattan because that's where we walked.
We suddenly walk in the street and we see a lot of posters. We never put them here and here and here. And we started to see
and we're
people
waking up with tons of messages and notifications, people asking for the posters or tagging us in photos of the posters, and we suddenly see it everywhere and discovering it's super viral.
So in 24 hours, it got really viral, and it reached the entire world in the blink of an eye. So we're looking at a place in Milan. You can see it's already translated to Italian. This is Oxford University in England, and this is Leipzig or Munich, I don't really remember. And suddenly we started receiving a tsunami of requests, not only to translate and to upload the files with different languages, because there was a need for different languages for different countries, but also the families themselves wanted their loved one to appear on the posters. So we started collecting a huge database of new pictures, the exact names, ages, all the information, more than 33 different languages, and we built a website who contained all that. We worked with a large group of volunteers. Each one had his own role, and Dede and I started running this campaign, this guerrilla unfunded campaign, and we just immediately knew that it's gonna take all of our time. We should clear the table. There is nothing more important than that. We stopped, on October 7th, we stopped going to the residency that brought us to New York to begin with. So we dropped from that place, and we dedicated our next 6 and more months only for doing that, with a lot of help of amazing volunteers. And quickly, as love came, the hate came, and people started blaming us for many things, that it's propaganda, that it's fake, that it's funded by the government, that we are, there was even a rumor about us that we are working with the CIA, you name it, people invented so many weird stories about this campaign and about us. And it started appearing worldwide on every newspaper, and the demand for interviews from us was at its peak. Normally a day we would get 7 different interviews about the hostages for 6 months. So every day, 7 multiplied by 6 months. That's all we did. It was really rough time. We received a lot of backlashes, and it was pretty rough. And people started ripping the posters and really abusing the posters as if the posters were, I don't know, the symbol of Israel in their opinion, or I don't know. Each one who ripped them had his own story in mind. But it was a fight. It became a fight in the streets of putting up, and then people tore it down. And our people never gave up, and they put it again and again and again. And this is a map.
Yeah, here you can see like the places that the posters were downloaded. So you can see the spread worldwide. You can see where it is. You can see where it wasn't downloaded. And the big blue areas is like, of course, the times it was downloaded. And you can see some of the numbers down the bottom of the screen. Daily downloads, 25,000. And when you download it once you can print it many times. So we're talking about millions of posters all around the world. And you can also see some interesting places where the posters were downloaded, like
Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, Papua New Guinea, but also Turkey or Egypt or Qatar.
I don't think that people in Qatar put posters. I think it was just because they were curious about the phenomenon. They downloaded to understand what it is.
But even if you focus about the USA, look at the amount of blue dots over there.
I think basically this map is a good example to show you where you can find Jews /Israelis /allies, except special cases like Qatar or something like that. But those are the places where you can find Jews and Israelis in general. So you can see the majority. Look, Israel is here. It's a big bubble dot. It's like covered with dots. You can't even see. But then you have Europe, and you have here, and you have a little bit of South Africa, a bit of Australia, and then it's scattered all over. So it's an interesting map. And because people were
tearing down the posters, so others were looking for more and more solutions to put it out there without the possibility of being torn. So people rented billboards or made projections of the posters on imported buildings worldwide, on museums, on the UN.
And everything was guerrilla style. Like, for example, the projections were never from mission. People took a very heavy projector, and they projected it without permission. This is another case of a billboard. This happens only thanks to real estate developers or people with ability to pay for those billboards. The money never got to us. It's really unnecessary because they can just purchase the billboard to rent it, and we can give them the file. That's all they need from us. So we never had to deal with any money or anything. It was free for all to use, and this project encouraged people to act, to do it on their own. More examples of taxis and with trucks. People really, they did everything they could to bring awareness to those people held hostage. And then we came back again to the idea of the milk cartons. We never forgot about the original idea, and we decided to make real big milk cartons, especially for Art Basel. It's Art Basel, Art Miami is the biggest art fair in December every year in Miami. All the people who love art come from all around the world to see all the fairs and all the art and all the amazing things that are happening there. It's a very special week, so we decided to place them in the streets so that those people would never forget and that they would still be aware of what is happening. So as you can see, we created those giant milk cartons, and they were placed around Miami. Noa Momani, she's very, very famous. She was rescued by the IDF, and he's still held captive. He's a pianist, and he's still there, still held hostage. He's in a really bad condition. And this is the power of community. This is like a great example to show you what can happen when the community, when people care and they unite, they put their differences aside for a moment. I know it's hard because we all have different political views, different way of thinking, but the only thing they cared is to release the hostages. And they gathered, and it was a very beautiful protest. It wasn't a protest, it was a rally in Washington, and this is an incredible picture. The goal of this guerrilla campaign, from the beginning, Dede and I wanted it to be prominent in New York, because we knew that from New York we can really make a difference with the decision makers. If this campaign would have been born in Israel, it could never create any effect on the world. New York is the most influential place in the world, in my opinion. And here people make the real decisions. So as you can see, it reached the French Parliament, the UN. This is it the Senate or the House of
The Congress?
Yeah, one of them just placed it outside of his office. And this is the president of Germany. And this is, no matter what your political views are, this is us now. This is the present moment. It was not Dede and me giving it to him. It was the family of the hostage itself. As you can see, this is his baby brother, this is his mother, and this is his father. And you know this guy. So this is us now. And I don't really know what the president thinks about this issue, but at least he is aware that there is a huge group of people that cares about a specific topic. And that's all that matters to us, that he will know that, and that he will try to act and push and do everything in his power to release them. And solving the war is not on us, where we had a very specific mission, and it's still very relevant. That's it. That's our story with the poster campaign. And if you want to ask questions. We are all ears. Yeah.
Were there any objections to if your campaign was stealth art or public art? Were there any objections to the art going up? In other words, was it acceptable to the governments of the places where you painted bandages, etc.?
You're talking about the
art,
Band-Aids?
Any public art. So
Okay.
if you're going to do, I think, in Bethlehem, if you're going to do public art, you have to go to City Hall and get a license. And so if you're doing that without getting a license or going through whatever rigmarole they put up, I'm trying to find out what the state of
The municipality.
relative to your public art.
So they don't.
Most of our art is illegal in the public space.
In Israel.
In Israel mostly. When we get invited abroad to create, of course, it's with permission and everything. We work with lifts and everything is very established. But yeah, we do a lot of illegal artworks outside too, all this time. And it's also part of what makes it temporary. The municipality can take it down, they can paint over it.
Even this piece, everything we showed you except the places like Poland or other foreign locations. Every picture we showed you that it's in Israel, it's illegal. And this piece is like three stores high, and we paid for our lift and everything. Everything was on us. And the municipality does not approve. We do not go through the regular
Committee.
Channels. Yeah, it's kind of a hassle to like submit requests. It can take a year until they'll decide if it's approved or not, and we are just not patient. And we like our freedom, and we like taking things into our own hands and just doing it without permission. So in Israel, we just do it, but there are consequences. You can get a ticket, like you can get fined, you can get arrested. It all happened to us before. We have 2 decades of annoying stories with the authorities and with landlords. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on it like at the very end there. I was going to ask, like, do you guys usually talk to, like, I know sometimes it's an abandoned like property, but like in this case, like, do you guys talk to the people in the building usually?
Yeah.
Or is this just like you hurry up before they get home?
Yeah, so in every location, it's very, very different. Sometimes, some of the people, especially in Tel Aviv, people are very accepting of art. They like it. Not the landlords necessarily, but the people living there, like the renters or anything. So you can find your way sometimes.
We talk to at least one tenant every time. And they themselves tell us, but don't tell
the rest.
The rest, don't tell them.
Because
just do it.
Because if you have like 10 people living there, each one will have a different opinion. So you try to stick to the ones that will like it.
And the rest they like it in the end. So you just prevented a massive headache. That's the truth.
Yeah.
How's your guys' like process changed? Like with making the art since when you were younger? Is it like the same sort of like, I guess like creating it and planning it and then doing it, or I mean I guess as you've gotten older, has it like adjusted at all?
No, it keeps changing all the time. I think we're still changing the way we work all the time.
The sad thing about growing up, you are becoming more calculated, and the more you learn, and
you want to get better. So
you want to get better. You're afraid of opinions. You're like becoming more self-conscious, more aware, and it can lead to a lot of lack of freedom in the end. I remember when I was 17 and Dede, when you started when he was 14, we both didn't know anything about the art world, what's good, what's bad, what's ugly, what's not, and we just went with it. And the freedom it's like infinity of freedom. The more you know, the less free you are in the end. But even until today, Dede likes to wake up really early in the morning, like 6, sometimes 5:30 in the morning, and he takes his coffee mug and like marker, and he goes tag around the block or something like that. So still there is a bit of spice left in our bones, and we're not only into like creating those large-scale murals. We do take our freedom. We just came back from Israel a couple of days ago, and we created 2 new pieces, illegal 2 new pieces. So we do like doing that, on top of creating like commissioned works and things we create in the studio for collectors or things like that. So we're like in between. Yeah.
The first day that you guys were putting out posters, you said a lot of people didn't want to help.
All of them.
Yeah. Was anyone protesting at that point?
No, it was very early. I think many people didn't even know, what happened or what we're talking about.
Did you say this was the next day? Like
it was two days after.
On the 9th.
On the 9th.
Yeah, like 2 days after. No one understood what we want from them. And even if they did, it's New York. And you're like trying to give something to someone in New York. No one. Yeah.
But they're just selling
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, I just like to give the other who saw your post on Facebook as you guys. I also arrived to the US a month in August.
Wow.
And as you, the same position of what can we do? And I'm such not an activist person, really not. I'm all in how academy is too much. So I usually don't do anything. I just talk. I just complain, but I don't do anything. And I remember that I saw your post because we were friends on Facebook still. So for real since then, and I saw it and I was like, okay, this is genius. This is participatory art. This is all that I'm trying to write in my own research.
Wow.
And I was one of those that text you also day after. I don't have time for anything. So just saying that it was in the minute I saw it, I sent it to my spouse and said, okay, go and now just print it out. It's so easy. Let's go do it.
Mm-hmm.
You made me an activist in a way, so thank you for a second.
Amazing.
So thank you about that. And
Thank you.
My question is, how do you think your street art experience helped in this campaign?
Wow, it helped a lot.
Yeah, it helped a lot because first we were very comfortable with the street, and we have years of experience of talking with people on the streets visually, through walls and objects, and not ourselves. And we immediately knew that we were going to act in the street, and we were looking for a comfortable way to do that, and also
the least expensive
also
way.
least expensive, but also in a sense that many people worldwide can do it.
But we didn't think that far.
No, but we did know that we need, maybe not worldwide, but we knew that we need many people to do it in order to be very powerful. We can't as two people cross the city and cover enough, to be effective.
But yeah, the fact that we both started as street artists, it led to the posters being in the street and not digital posters on Instagram, because we're not digital creators. It's not our field. So we know how to work with objects and we know how to place them in locations. We know how to work with materials with our hands. So yeah. Do you want to ask something?
Yeah. First of all, I think it's amazing that you guys made the posters.
Thank you.
I actually thought the suit was the government who was printing it out.
Boo, the government! I'm kidding.
But I guess now it's there's definitely still posters around, but it's kind of teetering out. So I'm wondering if there's anything that you guys are doing to continue with the campaign.
Yes.
Other kind of activism.
There is a film about the campaign. The name of the film is Torn. Makes sense. And it captures the first moment. It didn't capture us real time, so it's storytelling. It's capturing how the Kina poster was created and what it did to New York, and especially the film focuses on the fight between the Israelis with their posters and the people who ripped that down, and anti-Semitism, and it's a full feature. We go with this film to give talks at universities. We did Harvard, we did Columbia, we did many, and we go and we tour the US all the time to bring more and more awareness to places that we would never dream to do. And when we come with the film, one of the people, the most important people in the cast, it's not a cast, but the people who took part in the film, it's a family member of 7 of the hostages. 7 people from her family were abducted. So she's a great voice, and we are there to give our perspective, but she's there, she's really important. And so we go a lot, we dedicate a lot of our time to do advocacy. And it's not political, it's just bringing awareness about that topic. We don't get into politics at all. We refuse. Yeah.
So thank you for doing all of this, because my ex-wife lives in Georgia, and there was like sometimes she couldn't do anything, right? That happened, and then she could print it and post it, and they were torn down, and she printed them again, and so that kind of helped everybody, I think. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was kind of curious a little bit about the impact, so some of the people that came back and the people who passed away or murdered, do you have like, what is the residue of the posters? Like what happens afterwards? Because I think I saw sometimes it was like a check mark, sometimes it was an X, or people are leaving them, where they are just because, they're important. Do you have like I guess a little bit like what happened with your father? What would you consider to be gentle treatment to the posters that are still there, hanging after people are gone?
But I didn't see many posters surviving to begin with. And we're talking about the Manhattan and Brooklyn area, so we don't see them anymore. They don't last. So I don't have a good example to give you what to do in the public sphere with the ones who remain in the street but are not alive anymore. I don't know, because I didn't see any like that. None of them survived the street.
In Israel, they're not there.
In Israel, it's a different question.
With other manipulations on them.
Yeah, it's a different story. But for example, a lot of people are celebrating the ones that were released. So that's like a happy place to be. So the families or the friends or just normal citizens, they take the posters and they take it apart. They don't tear it, but they take it because they're like celebrating the opposite of tearing down the poster. It's like, now finally you get off the street. But this is the only way we want them to get off the street, by being released. But people in Israel, they do many things. I mean, it's a rough time now in Israel. It's a lot of politics around the hostages. It's an insane time to be alive. But in Manhattan, nothing really survived. Yes.
I just would like to say thank you, Pascal.
Thank you.
I was here at school when it happened, and it hit so hard, of course. So I wanted to go home and be with my family, and I live in Manhattan. And I would say I probably went home on like pretty early on, maybe a week after you guys started the posters. So driving through the city to my apartment, when I saw it on like the walls and on like street posts and everywhere, it gave me like almost a sense of peace, because it's so horrifying, of course, and it's scary to see that and have it put into perspective like that, but to know that people were taking action like that and to see that kind of first step of the community coming together was so powerful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Were you guys like surprised by how quickly it spread?
Yeah, definitely. We were shocked. I think for a month we were shocked by everything that happened every day. We had new surprises every day. First, it was really that becoming viral. Then the amount of people, or the reach, the
amount of care, like you said.
Yeah, but the roles that got the posters, like the different presidents and influencers speaking it and posting about it, and the amount of interviews and media outlets that reaching out to us, two strangers, in the city. We never gave our phone number or email, and people just reaching out like crazy every day. And
it was a crash course to how to speak English and how to be in Manhattan. It was like crazy times for us. The thing that I did not mention, maybe you do want to know, that we received a lot of backlash because of this campaign. Because we appeared, both of us, Dede was masked, but I was not. We appeared a lot on TV, every day, live TV, every newspaper, you name it, we were there, radio, podcast. That was our mission, to speak on behalf of the hostages. And we became a target. And people broke into our apartment, we had to move, people threatened our lives. We had some rough time in the first 6 months. We moved 7 different apartments, 3 different studios. Never in my life I would think that I will feel even the smallest thing that my grandfather experienced, in Poland. So I was, even until this day, I'm shocked, like, that this kind of behavior can take place in Manhattan. I can't digest it, but it did. Yeah. Yes.
How difficult was it maintaining your anonymous identity?
So it's becoming harder every year because people, they walk today with a video camera everywhere, especially walking outside, and you always attract attention. So I try to avoid. It's not easy.
Even in Israel, you succeed.
Yeah.
Do you ever plan to reveal yourself?
No, not at the moment.
I mean,
I like this spot in the backstage.
The end, it's not like we are famous pop stars or something. It's not like the world is expecting Dede to unveil his beautiful face. It's really just, it's for him, especially. No one is waiting to discover who Dede really is. We are not Banksy. So we take it in the right proportion, and it's just it's personal. It's something he owes for yourself, right? It's for you.
That's how it began.
Yeah. Yes.
I had a small thing to share and a question. With the posters, I was watching the New York City Marathon, which was in 2023, maybe 4 weeks after you started the posters, so it was November. And I was watching from very close to the finish line, and there was a huge group of people. So the first time I saw the posters in New York was that there was a huge group near Columbus Circle, very close to the finish line of the marathon, with the posters, and balloons, and they were handing out leaflets. So I just wanted to share that, and I was personally very moved by it, and it was an interesting juxtaposition of worlds.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question about your poems and the way that the Hebrew letters are very close together in many of them. So I wondered if you might speak about that, and why, and they feel a little claustrophobic.
Yeah, they are very claustrophobic. It took me a while to choose my font, and I just spoke about that early on today. The font that I chose, its name is, in Hebrew it's Chaim, and Chaim in translation is life. And the font Chaim used to serve as obituary ads in Israel. And you can walk in the streets of Israel, and if God forbid someone passes, the family would take those obituary posters and they'll place it around the neighborhood, so all the neighbors would know that this person passed and they can visit them or go to the grave. And that's the font of the obituary ads. And I took the aesthetics of the obituary ads, especially the Chaim, the life font. It's a very ironical thing to call obituary ads with the font Chaim, life. And I took that font and I started writing my poetry with that font. And what is very unique about this font is how sharp it is, how it's almost like perfect lines. nothing stands out. It's very minimalistic. It's like shapes. If you never saw the Hebrew lettering in your life, you would just see it as an abstract painting. And I love I love making it very condensed to mimic the abstract paintings that I grew up on. And so yeah, this is a game between me trying to be very aware of people's ability to read my poems, but on the other hand, I want it to look like an abstract painting. In the end, it's about composition, about colors, about shapes. Yeah. Yes.
I'm from Maryland. I was at the DC rally.
Wow.
And I just remember like my dad came into my room that morning and he was like, "Hey, do you want to go to this with me?" And I was like, "But I've been missing school." And he was like, "It's okay, you can miss school this time." And I just had an incredible time.
Wow.
An incredible experience. And I was wondering if there was anything that you think we could do to kind of keep educating people, keep the issue kind of in the conversation.
So it's a harder task now because it's 1.5 years after, and a lot had happened since.
Yeah,
lot.
people hear about it all the time, and it's really hard to get the message through, like in a new way, or say something that will attract people to listen and act. We try to think about it also all the time, and we
do it with the film, but
with the film, but like to try to think about new ways to do it, really almost impossible. I think it's very saturated. Topic
if you want my personal opinion, I think it will. It's only up to Trump these days. Trump is the only one who can put real pressure on the real leaders, either this or either that. He's the only man that can really decide where is this direction, where is it going. So I think maybe if we're a community, we need to put a lot of stress, if it's with email, phone calls. I don't know who you call, the offices, who you email, but we need to get as many emails as possible, like a flood, like to make them know that that's what we care about and they should act immediately. They need a lot of pressure. They're taking their time. Our government is taking their time. They have their own plans. I have no idea what they're doing. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, each has its own ideas, but I think it's on Trump now. Yes.
Hi, I just want to say thank you, and also one of my childhood friends, she does not go to Lehigh, she goes to WashU, but she's from Manhattan, and you both inspired her to get into street art.
Really?
And yeah, she follows you on Instagram, and she's the one who sent me your Instagram stories and told me, "Oh, Brooke, you need to come. My 2 favorite artists are at Lehigh." So I just want to say on behalf of her, she really looks up to you guys.
Yeah, that's so sweet. Tell her to
tell her to reach out.
Yeah,
no, can you open? I want them to have our contact.
That would make her life like she.
What's her name?
Her name's Reina.
Reina.
And she also showed me, she shared with me pictures of her in Tel Aviv, posing with your art, and she told me, like, show them if you can.
Oh my God.
But she really looks up to you guys, and I guess my question I had, no, she didn't ask this question, but this is kind of for me. How long does it take you guys to create street art? Does it take multiple nights? Because are you worried about someone else coming and covering it up in the middle of it?
And it did happen.
Yeah, so in the street you try to be as fast as you can, but sometimes it takes a few days. It depends on the size and the complexity of the composition.
So for example, the yellow one took us 4 nights. And we worked like crazy because we were very scared. Very scared. The moment you leave the area, you have no idea what's going to happen. And it happened to us before that we left the location and the morning you come, something terrible happened to the wall. Either it's a graffiti artist who came and like tagged, or the municipality came and buffed. You never know. So it's very stressful. If it's small tags, like quick things on the run, like a couple of hours piece, it's much easier. But if it's like the big things, you are worried all the time. Especially you're worried because you're leaving the lift. The lift, you're paying for it. And if something happens to it, it's on you. And it's a 7-ton machine. It's a lot of money. So if you guys wanna be in touch, and if you wanna ask us more questions, you wanna, I don't know, do something creative, or to become our assistant in our studio in Manhattan, you name it, you can send us a message. And thank you for coming. Thank you for interesting questions.
Thank you.